Hello everyone, welcome to the Ionic 5. This is the first EV of the channel, and I just want to be able to, showcase it for you guys today. So giving it a quick walk around, obviously this thing is very good looking. I actually really enjoy this nice blue paint. It's not my favorite color that the Ionic 5 has to offer, but it's definitely up there. I say like the dark gray, I believe it's some sort of matte color, is a little bit more appealing, but I mean, just look at these LED tail lights. I mean, even just like the stance of the car is pretty much perfect for what you'd want out of a, a little crossover EV. To tell you more about it, also like look at this plastic cladding we got along the wheel wells, and then the aggressive corner styling with the little slant mark through the body panel there, and then obviously these front LEDs too are pretty nice as well. Right now I have the parking lights on because when you put it into park, you're not actually able to just have your running lights on. Before I take this thing for a spin and show you all the driving features, let me actually open the tailgate for you guys to see as well. And so there's a little button you press right here. Nothing is electronic, it's all hydraulic. As you can see here, we have a pretty wide open trunk. It's not the biggest, but the seats go down. Obviously you can make more room into the cabin too if you're carrying something a little bit longer. It's a pretty good size. The one gripe I have with this is there's no really nice place to touch where you can put down the trunk. You kind of just have to grab this inside latch and then push down on the panel, which I don't like having to touch the paint of the car for. But anyways, it's just a small little gripe. Let's get in and drive this beauty. So, welcome to the Ionic 5. This is our first channel's EV. And yeah, let's get into, some of the driving features. So, obviously, we see this big screen when we get in. The interior is actually pretty nice. It's generally simple, and there's definitely, some like soft plastics here. There's not like a ton of hard plastics. Maybe as you go up your dash, you'll get some, but so far everything's nice. Driving this over the last day, there hasn't been any sort of like weird rattles or anything like that. I've been able to comfortably fit 4 people in here with no problems, and it's been pretty good to me. So in this front screen here, obviously this is kind of like your home menu right here, unless you're using Apple CarPlay. And once you click on this car, which I thought is pretty cool, like you can see the nearest charging station, you can see your mileage with the AC off and on, which is kind of funny. You can like schedule your climate and stuff like that. And then once you go to the home menu, you got your map, you got your EV information, which we just went over. You can put on your heated seats from here. There's no hard button. Climate control is here, and also we have hard buttons down here. I will say that I don't like the buttons on the steering wheel and the climate control because they're gloss black. And once you touch them, you could probably see here that it gets really dirty. Gloss black is great until you have it for a couple weeks, and then it gets dirty just so fast, no matter how much you clean it. And then obviously we have like a valet mode in here too, which is nice. And then obviously down here you can see your media, how to connect, your phone and stuff like that too. You can do obviously like phone projection, Apple CarPlay. I will say that the Apple CarPlay is only wired, so you have to use a little USB cable running from the bottom of the dashboard here, which kind of sucks because you'd want to keep this area kind of open. You don't want a cord like rubbing against your leg as you drive. But with that being said, we obviously have this front screen here. I'm not sure exactly how much you guys can see, but it shows you a picture of your car. This car has blind spot monitoring, so it'll actually pop up on your car like here and here, like if someone's in your blind spots, which is kind of cool. When you switch your drive mode, say you go into sport, you know, everything kind of changes as well, and obviously in eco too. So it kind of shows you different things, like sport mode will show you torque instead of your efficiency as an EV. And then obviously your range changes with each mode too, which is kind of cool. With that being said, you know, you can hold OK to get into the settings, and then it'll show you like driver convenience things. In any sort of Hyundai, you'll have this exact kind of system, but usually it shows up here unless you have the digital dash like this. All right, so let's get into the driving. So in order to, obviously, you know, being in my, first ever EV, this one's interesting. So you have this little, you know, almost like another stock coming out of your steering wheel. You flick it up to put it into drive. You can flick it down twice to put in reverse, up once, neutral, and then this little thing is park. And then obviously you still have a start stop button, just like any car, except it doesn't make noise when you start it up, really. You know, there's no engine. It's, you know, you're just on an EV platform. So when you hit start, you just hear a little chime, and then your car is on. So let's flick it into drive and get going here. All right, so starting off in sport mode, this car is actually extremely quick. So this is the Ionic 5 with all-wheel drive, and the 0 to 60 is said to be at 5.2 seconds, and with the instant torque, it feels much faster. And really that 5.2 seconds is all you'll need. You know, you can get up to speed very quickly no matter really where you are, because there's no gears. So you're not downshifting to get more torque, you're not, you know, upshifting when you hit the limiter. There's none of that. It's just, it's all instant power, which is pretty unique to get used to, honestly. And so in sport mode, you're not going to find this car to be super engaging. You know, the steering doesn't really change. Really just what will happen is your throttle response will increase, and that's what I've found. You know, obviously you get this different dynamic in your front gauge cluster, but really nothing else is exciting. This isn't meant to be some sort of sports car anyways, so just enjoy it as an EV, because frankly you'll have enough power and you'll also have tons of comfort in here. So automatically switching like right into normal mode, you can feel like this the you know, not per se gas pedal, but you know, you can feel the throttle kind of let up a little bit. It gets a little lighter, and you're instantly putting less power down as if you were in sport mode. So with that being said, just in normal, you know, this car is very comfortable. We have a huge, you know, greenhouse in here. With it being an EV, the dash is a lot lower. So you can really see out of everything. My girlfriend commented, although she really, you know, enjoys the interior, it's kind of like a fishbowl in here, and I agree with her. And so when you put that, when you put it into sport, it just kind of like put your pedal to the floor. Like it's pretty insane how fast this thing picks up. You don't really get a lot of like wheel hop or anything like that too, with like, you know, front wheel drive cars. Obviously you get that. You know, everything kind of hooks up. You know, the tires work well with this car. I'm not sure exactly what it's on, but I'd imagine it's all seasons. Right now the efficiency we've been getting is just over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. I'm not really sure if that's good or not. This is the first EV I've ever driven, so I can't tell you, but it has improved since I've gotten the vehicle. I think when I got it, it was at like 2.5. So I've been driving it pretty conservatively over these last, you know, this last like 24 hours that I've had this vehicle. We have a really nice seating position. It doesn't go as low as you might want it to. You know, I'm about 5'10", and I feel kind of tall in this car. Given I still have maybe about 6 inches in headroom from me to the, you know, to the ceiling of this car. But I will also say that obviously, like, I'm just someone who likes to sit a bit lower in their cars, and you can't really do that in here. The driver's seat is the only one in this Ionic 5. I don't know if you can option it up, but in this Ionic 5, this is actually the only one that gets the electric adjustments. The rest are manual. As far as the usability of this infotainment system has gone, it's been great to me so far. I commented in my last video doing the 2021 Toyota Supra that I had issues, you know, getting everything going, just kind of figuring out how to connect my phone, figuring out the navigation system, just, you know, how to get around in the menus. It was difficult. In this Hyundai, they've kind of figured things out. You know, everything's pretty simple. You have a nice front home page where, you know, kind of shows you everything just right up front where you need to be. As far as like more in-depth settings, obviously you can have, you know, you can press OK in the steering wheel and get everything as far as like driver and, you know, like convenience options are all in there. And so, you know, everything's been set up in a easier way for the user. As far as cup holders go, we have two in this front here, and then you can kind of use this little cubby here as a third cup holder, which is funny. And then there's two in the back seats as well. So at highway speeds, you know, this Ioniq 5 is actually pretty comfortable. It's generally smooth. The tires do a great job at keeping things, you know, stable and quiet. You know, there's not a lot of tire noise, which is great. I will say that there is a lot of wind noise. You know, this interior is probably not, you know, packed with sound deadening, but, you know, it's generally quiet, especially with no engine. But yeah, I'd say that like on highway speeds, it's pretty easy to get up to speed. It's pretty easy to cruise and just kind of set your cruise control to kind of do the work for you. And it even has the little like steering icon on steering wheel that allows the car to take control for a little bit and steer. In this system and my system in my Hyundai, it doesn't last long before it tells you to put your hands on the wheel. Take with that what you will, but yeah, with that being said, you know, the system works well. I've come to trust it. There are places where, like, you know, the lines aren't as good, and so, you know, you kind of get it to short out on you, but it'll beep at you if it's going to shut off, so keep that in mind as well. So as far as range goes, I believe, you know, we're at 50% right now and the range is 130, so, you know, add that up with the all-wheel drive, you get about 260 mileage. So it's not amazing, you know. In my gas car, obviously I get about 400 in my Elantra. I've also had cars that, you know, don't really get more than like 300 as far as mileage too. So, you know, as long as you live in a place where charging stations are pretty accessible and you have one at home, like, it's not really a big deal as you might make it out to be. And, you know, I've heard people talk about like road trips being a concern too. You could always, you know, rent a car, or if you, I mean, most, you know, American families, at least I've seen, being around a lot of American families, we have multiple cars. You know, take that into account too. You might have two cars, one could be an EV, one could not be, you know, that might work out too. You know, have a gas powered car with more range in it. You know, there's definitely adjustments to be made, you know, driving an EV, but I can tell you that, like, in a daily commute, this is a much better option than, you know, say any gas powered car. You know, you don't get the jolts from transmission shifting. As far as all the, like, buttons and places that you touch, like, on a regular basis, such as your, you know, your turn signal stalk, like I'm using here, or, you know, the one to control your windshield wipers, or the one that you use to shift into gear. They're all amazing. Like, honestly, they're really nice quality. It feels like I'm in a way more expensive car. You know, obviously this Ioniq 5 starting at about $40,000. And I think that just in the right places, they've added the right quality buttons, which I've definitely criticized cars in the past for including, like, maybe a cheap steering wheel or cheap buttons around where your hands are usually always. So props to Hyundai on that. I will say that these door panels are quite simple, and they definitely saved a lot of money on them. They do kind of collect fingerprints too, I've noticed, so keep that in mind. But where my car, like on the outside of the doors, has like that gloss black, this one actually has a matte black, which is way better because it doesn't show fingerprints as often. And that's very important for, like, when people close your doors. Obviously, like, as they close your doors, you know, they get their fingerprints on that part of the door. So it's great that Hyundai didn't include that gloss black in this one. So as we switch into eco mode, things kind of lull out. Obviously you're gonna get better fuel economy in here just by the nature of how the car behaves under the eco mode. Your throttle response is basically none. It acts as if you're not even here. You're gonna get pretty good efficiency in here, and if you want to go crazy, put it into sport mode. You know, if you're bored just driving an EV, which you probably will be. But yeah, with that being said, you know, obviously I've talked about this car being boring, but at the same time, you know, EVs are a great way to, you know, kind of like have a more relaxing commute in your workday, because, you know, when you're driving in stop and go traffic, this is definitely the best thing to have, especially if it has like radar cruise, or if it has, you know, the one pedal driving. All that stuff is really great. And I've heard a lot of people comment on how when they're done their drive in their EV, especially like some of my coworkers, like they often are, you know, a lot more awake when they get home. They're not as tired from their commute, or not as, you know, drained from just, you know, being in stop and go traffic. So keep that into consideration when you're looking for your next car. Maybe it's an EV if it fits into your daily life. Even being in New Hampshire, where, you know, things are a little more rural in parts of my life compared to, say, like California, we still have plenty of charging stations out here. I don't think I would have an issue finding one. So how does the Ioniq 5 fit in with its competitors? Obviously you have the Tesla, you have the Ford Mach-E, you have, you know, the Kia EV6, and, you know, some other EVs are coming out as, you know, we progress as society. And honestly, I can say that I haven't driven any of those, but I will say that this Ioniq 5 is definitely the best looking. I think that just whatever EV you choose, make sure you at least get to drive 2 of them, maybe 3, whatever you can kind of get your hands on, just to gauge what you like in your EV and what, you know, manufacturer might, you know, suit you the best. I'll tell you right now, the Ioniq 5 has been a really good car to me over the last day. I have had really great first impressions of it. I wish I could have it for a longer time and get to know it a little more, but I've been driving it, you know, almost a couple hundred miles, and I will say that, like, I haven't had any problems with it, other than the fact that I myself, like, I'm a very sports car enthusiast, so I just get bored driving it. But for a person who's not really looking for something crazy, just looking for something comfortable, that'll get to and from work in a safe manner, and also, you know, have all their tech features that they want, this is definitely a great option for that. So keep the Ioniq 5 in mind, especially if you love the styling such as I do, and go for the crazy colors, people.